All right, so put your name on this worksheet. You will be, well, you won't be turning it in. You'll be checking it in class on Friday. I'm not going to go over every single question with you. We probably won't have time for that. But what I do want to do is I want you to help, or I want to help you write what the equations are from the words that were given. And then I expect you to be able to solve and maybe even tell me what you think the best method, substitution or elimination, would be in order to solve it. Olivia?
I might know what the SOE is.
For number one, okay. So now one thing I'm going to also have us do for every single question is if we're using a variable that represents a specific value, I want us to label that. Can you shut that door for me, Kendall? Thank you. These, in number one, I'm not going to need you to do that because they just represent numbers. They don't represent tickets sold or the price of a daylily or anything like that. They just represent numbers here. So what do you think our first equation should be for number one?
Well, I know that x plus y will equal 213.
Okay, awesome. So the sum, their sum of these two numbers is 213. So we could write that x, first number, plus y, the second number, is going to equal 213. That is one of them. Good. Levi Shoemaker, what do you think the next one will be?
X minus y is 51.
There you go. Yeah, the difference, that means to subtract them. The difference of those two numbers, x minus y, equals 51. Question?
How do we know that it's x minus y equals 2 and not y minus x?
Well, they're assuming that you're using the same order of these numbers.
Wait,
That you're not flipping it around.
Can it be y plus x and then y minus x?
Sure.
Yeah.
You could do that because what that means y represents the first number instead of x representing the first number. That's fine. As long as you, whatever variable you used to represent the first number, it's got to be the same in that next equation. So if you do y minus x, then make sure you write y plus x. Doesn't really matter. You could do a and b, you could do a and z. Doesn't really matter. What do you guys think? If you had to solve this one, AJ, would you use substitution or elimination? I would too. What would you eliminate? Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to put an E here. I'm not saying that you have to use elimination, but I think it would make this one easier. And so by adding these equations together, you can eliminate the y's. AJ, what does that give us for the x variables then? Okay. And then go ahead and finish it, AJ. What would x be? $132. Now that we have x, we can plug it into either one of those top equations, either the red one or the blue one. Max, which one are you plugging it into? The red one. Okay. So that would give us 132 plus y equals 213. Subtract 132 from both sides, and what does that give you for y?
Do you want us to write it as an ordered pair?
Yes, I do want us to write this in ordered pair. So this would be x, it's 132. It does not need a label because it's just a number. And then y would be 81.
You can subtract those, just make it straight. Like you could subtract 132 minus 81 to see if they're 51.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. To check your answer?
Yeah.
Yep. You could plug it into either one of the equations. If you plug it into both, like Caleb's suggesting, if you plug it into the bottom one as well, you should still get that same value, right? If I plug, or you should still get the equation to work out. So 132 minus 81 gives you 51. If I add them together, I get 213. That way I know I'm right. It's got to work for both of them if you're going to check. You can't just check one equation. Yeah.
Wouldn't you just do 132 minus 51? And then you get 81.
If you were plugging it into the blue one instead of checking, yeah. But if you already have both answers, you could just plug both answers in for x and y. Okay, number 2. A class of 195 students went on a field trip. They took 7 vehicles, some cars, some buses. Find the number of cars and the number of buses they took if each car holds 5 students and each bus holds 45 students. The first thing we'll do is we'll represent what variables we're going to use. And we're supposed to find the number of cars. So I'm going to use C for the number of cars. And B for the number of buses. All right. In fact, I might even write these over here, so I have more space to write the system of equations and solve it below. Okay. So I need 2 equations. Devin, what's one of them?
5C plus 45B equals 195.
Perfect. Nice job. 5 people per car plus 45 people per bus equals a total of 195, the number of students that went on this trip. So that's our total number of students equation. Now I need one that represents the total number of vehicles. Elise?
C plus B equals 7.
C plus B equals 7. Good. C plus B equals 7 because it says they took 7 vehicles, but we know the only 2 types were cars and buses. We just don't know how many of each. So that's the total number of vehicles. Okay. All right. Riley, do you have a question? Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. What do you guys think? Substitution or elimination, Caitlin? Say it again. Elimination. Okay, we could use elimination. Was anyone thinking substitution? Okay. In this question, I wouldn't say this about number 1, but in this question, substitution and elimination will take you about the exact same amount of time. Because both of them, neither one of them are perfectly set up for substitution or elimination. If I'm going to eliminate one of my variables, I'll have to change one of the equations. And if I'm going to substitute for one of my variables, I'd have to solve for either C or B in that bottom equation. So it's really not going to take you. So I would either say substitution or elimination. Both of them would be great for this problem. Okay. Since we used elimination last time, I'm going to use substitution this time. And I'm going to just, and it doesn't really matter, but I'll just move the C over to the other side and make this B equals negative C plus 7. Sure.
If you were to use elimination, would you just multiply the bottom by -5?
Yes, I would. I could do a couple different things. I think what you said is one of the easiest. Just multiply the bottom equation by -5. So you get negative 5C minus 5B minus 30 equals negative 35. And then you can eliminate your C variable right
You
away.
could divide by
Eliminate your C
-45.
variable because
Not
it's
by negative.
5C. Oh, sorry. I was gonna say you can't eliminate your C variable if you put -5.
If you times by -5,
You
would you be able to add them and they go away?
You could add them.
Substitution can.
You get
Oh,
zero.
addition. I thought you were subtraction.
Yeah, subtraction. you just-
No. Now, Caleb, what you were saying, divide by 45?
Yeah, -45, so then it would be a negative.
I think you
Yeah,
made
like a
it
bunch
5.
of decimals, we.
No. So I do agree that you could divide. If you divide the top equation by -5, now you've got negative C and positive C. They can still eliminate, but the numbers are smaller. You've got negative 9B, and then you got whatever, how many times -5 goes in 195? Okay, negative 19, I think. So,
Negative.
oh, yeah,
39,
sorry, you're right, 5.
39.
What was I thinking? 5. Negative 39. So the numbers are a little bit smaller. That could save you some time. But again, and just because I'm using substitution doesn't mean you have to. I told you you could make your own decisions. So if you want to do this using elimination, that's fine. I'm going to try to alternate maybe a little bit so that we're getting a little bit of practice of both. If you're watching me on the screen up here. So then I just plug B in for, or negative C plus 7 in for this B right here. 5C plus 45 times the quantity negative C plus 7 equals 195. Then I go to distribute. Riley, what's 45 times negative C? Okay. And what about 45 times 7?
245? I'm not sure.
Do you have a calculator? Okay, get one out. Or borrow one if you need to. What is it, Cooper? Negative 315.
Yeah, it would be negative.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I just multiplied by 45, so it should be positive.
315 then.
Okay. Combine your like terms. The 5 and the negative 45 will give you negative 40C. Subtract 315 from both sides. Ashton, I'm gonna have you do that for me. What's 195 minus 315?
Negative 120.
Okay. And Ashton, how many times will negative 40 go into negative 120? Once I know the number of cars, I can plug it into either equation. It's pretty simple. If there were 7 vehicles in all and 3 were cars, how many were buses?
4.
4. Yeah. So B equals 4, and I'm going to write that. And I don't care if you use X or Y or B or C or whatever. So what that means is when you write your answer as an ordered pair, you have to label it properly. Otherwise, I won't know which number goes to which. So the way I'm going to refer to this one is I'll say that there were 3 cars. We just happened to find that one first. And then 4 buses. And I don't care if you put 4 buses, comma, 3 cars. It really doesn't matter to me because it's a story problem and they didn't specify which had to come first. So as long as you label, I'm fine. I can figure it out. Riley?
I did the opposite way. So I found it on the buses with that equation. So I used, so I solved, I'm confusing myself. So I solved for the cars first and then put it into buses. And then put it back in cars.
That's fine. Did you get 3 cars?
Yes.
Okay.
But then I didn't like the national one.
You don't have to put them the way I wrote it. As long as you label your answer. Now, let me clarify this, okay? If it's a system of equations with an X and a Y, you have to write the X first, you have to write the Y second as an ordered pair. If it's a story problem, as long as you label your numbers, I don't care what order you give them to me in. Okay? Now, if you put 3 buses and 4 cars, that's wrong. Okay? But if you just rearrange these, I'm okay with that because I didn't specify which had to go first. Olivia, that's not labeling. Why are you asking me that question?
No, I was saying.
Then you lose points for not labeling. Same thing that's happened all year long.
I wasn't asking. I was just saying like, or if you put 3 and then 4, that'd be wrong.
But if
Olivia.
you labeled it,
So what if you put like in what do they call them?
Order pair.
If you
Okay.
put C, B in coordinates and then under it you put 3, 4.
Still need a label. Yeah, that's fine if you want to do that and clarify why you're putting the one first and why you're putting the other one second. But because it's a story problem, I still do need a label, and one's cars and one's buses. Yeah. So you can do that, and that's fine. That just be, at that point, you might as well not even do that because you got the C. Now, if you used X or Y like Riley did, then she might want to do this, right? So she's clarifying X was my cars, Y was the buses. But if I use C and B, it's clear that C stands for cars and B is for buses. Yeah. Yes.
I solved for buses.
Okay, that's what she said. And then you solve for cars. You don't. There's several ways you could do these. Did you get the same answer? 3 cars, 4 buses. Okay. Max.
I did 5C plus C. I got 60, and I did 195 plus 7, and I got 202, and then I divided 202 by 6, and we got 33.6666.
Where did you said 5C plus 1C equals 6C?
Yeah, 5C plus C.
But if you're going to use elimination, you have to convert this equation so it has the same coefficient. Like what Caleb was saying earlier, if you multiply this bottom equation by -5, now it's negative 5C, negative 5B, negative 35. And then you can eliminate and the C's go away. You want one of the variables to go away. You can't just add them. Now, you could do that on some of the homework questions last time in that worksheet because it was already perfectly set up. This is not perfect. Like I'm gonna have to change that and then I can eliminate. Okay. Okay, starting now, since we've done one elimination and one substitution, I'm just going to help you with the equations and let you decide, and I'm not going to waste time solving them because I expect you to be able to do that. Okay, so now we have an example of what substitution looks like versus what elimination looks like. Number 3. This year, the senior high class at Northeastern High School and the senior class at Southwestern High School both planned trips to the state fair. Northeastern rented and filled 8 vans and 8 buses with 240 students. Southwestern rented and filled 4 vans and 1 bus with 54 students, much smaller school. Every van had the same number of students in it as did the buses. Find the number of students in each van and each bus. This is not the same kind of question that we just did. The last question, we had a number of students equation, and then we had a number of vehicles equation. This one actually tells us the number of vehicles that both schools took. So we have a southwestern equation and a northeastern equation, and they're both going to be very similar to each other.
I feel like the name should be flipped. I feel like it should be Northwestern and South.
You can argue.
Eastern, Northwest.
Ashton, you haven't done one yet, I don't think.
Would it be 8B plus 8B?
Which one are you doing? Which high school are you doing?
Be Northeastern.
Okay. And northeastern, what would theirs be?
8B plus 8B equals 240.
8 vans plus 8 buses equals 240. Yeah, so I'm going to go over here off to the side real quick before we go on any farther. Now that we've got that and you've already determined what variables we're going to use, I am going to write over here that V does represent the number of students in a van. It does not represent the number of vans. I already know that number. It represents the students in a van. And then B means the same thing. I'm just going to put quotations. Means I'm quoting the same thing from up above, but then I'm going to say in a bus. So that means still the number of students, but this time in a bus. Okay. Okay. I've already called on you, I think. You didn't do one of the equations already?
Yes, he did.
I asked you about a question about it.
Oh, yeah. And you guys
Okay, that's true. All right, so the northwestern equation, northeastern and what was it, southwestern? For the southwestern equation, their high school, what's theirs gonna look like?
4B plus 1, or plus B is equal to 54.
Got it, let's try. All right. Now, what do you guys think? Substitution or elimination?
Elimination.
So, if I use elimination, I could multiply, well, with elimination, your options are vast. They're not endless, but there's a lot of ways you can go. I could divide the top equation by 2,
Yeah.
or even -2, so one of them becomes negative. And then you'll get -4b, -8b, -120, and then it matches up with the positive 4b. You wouldn't have to do anything to the bottom equation. You could just multiply the bottom equation by -8 so the b's line up. There's a lot of different ways you could go about canceling these out. Or you could use substitution. And if you use substitution, which variable should you solve for?
B because it's already solved for. You just -4.
There's no coefficient here. So 1, right? 1 bus, Max said, 1 bus. So then if you just move the 4b and make it -4b, it's ready then to be plugged in. So I would be okay with either one of these. Again, your preference. You're doing the worksheet, you decide. AJ?
So, couldn't you times the bottom equation by 2 and then the easier to do subtraction because the bottom is all smaller than the top?
Yeah, so there wouldn't be any negatives to worry about. You could do, yeah. In this case, subtraction wouldn't be difficult to do. Yeah. Yes, Caleb?
Okay, so my calculator won't let me subtract or add a negative. So is adding a negative adding a positive the same thing as subtracting them?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, make sure you're not using the subtraction button as your negative sign. Your calculator has a negative sign at the very bottom. It's in parentheses. So if you do like 3 and then hit plus and then hit -3, it should say 0.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 4. And again, that's not done. You have to do it, but you might just need to come back to it because if you don't listen, you might actually miss some of these. So you might just want to circle number 3 and come back to it later. Olivia?
So for our label, would it just be students per bus? Or students per bus and students?
Students per bus, students per van. Yes, that's a great question. The label is not vans or buses. It's actually students. But to be more specific, as Olivia just said, say students per bus and students per van. That way you know which one goes to which. Because if you just say students, not clarifying if it's the vans or the buses. Levi?
Oh, I was in.
Okay, you've already done one. You've done one. Put your hand down.
No, I.
What's your question? Don't lean back. No. Number 4, Brenda's school is selling tickets to a spring musical on the first day of ticket sales. The school sold 3 adult tickets and 9 child tickets for a total of $75. The school took in $67 on the second day by selling 8 adult tickets and 5 child tickets. What's the price of an adult ticket and the price of a child ticket? Okay. Boom, boom. You two, Caitlin and Harrison, you guys will give it. Before I do that, I'm going to define the variables for us in this problem. Again, you're free to use whatever variable you want, but I think it makes sense to use A for adult tickets and C for child. Now, it's not the number of adult tickets. It's actually the price of an adult ticket. And then the C would be the price of a child ticket. That's why I like doing this because, you know, you put A and C and you might just think it means the number of tickets. We actually already know that information. We don't need to know that. We need to know the price of each one of them. Caitlin, on the first day, give me your first day ticket sales equation.
3A plus 9C equals 75.
Good. 3A, 3 adult tickets plus 9 child tickets, total $75. Harrison, give me your second day equation.
8A plus 5C equals 67.
8A plus 5C equals 67. Good. Okay, substitution or elimination?
Elimination.
Not even a question here. Elimination is going to be your easiest route. Yeah, I know that you have to change one or both of the equations, but the nice thing is you don't have to, if you're doing substitution, you have to try to pick which variable to solve for, which that can be time consuming in itself. If you were to use substitution, I would solve for that. Only because I know 3 is going to, when I end up doing the divide by 3, I know it'll go into 9, and I know it goes into 75. I wouldn't want to do any of the other ones. So that could take you a while just to figure out what variable you want to solve for if you're using substitution. With elimination, you're just trying to get some of the variables lined up. Like if I times this by 8 and times that by -3, my A's will line up. If I times this by -5 and I times this by 9, now my C's will line up. And so I can then eliminate and then I can plug in and find my other variables. So I'll let you guys finish number 4. Flip the worksheet over. Let's look at number 5. Hope and Faith are selling fruit for their school fundraiser. Hope sold 3 small boxes of oranges and 14 large boxes of oranges for a total of $203. Faith sold 11 small boxes and 11 large boxes of oranges for a total of $220. Find the cost of a small box of oranges and large box of oranges.
Moore, please come to the office. Ethan Moore, please come to the office.
So S is going to represent the cost of a small box, or just a small. L will represent, Caleb, the cost of a large box. So those are the variables we're going to go with. Devin, have you already given me one?
Yeah.
I'm going to let Camden and Jocelyn's volunteering. Excellent, Jocelyn. I was worried you weren't going to raise your hand today. So got that. Just for the record, she didn't. Camden, let's do your hope equation.
Okay, 3x plus 14, was it L?
Yep.
And equals 200.
Good. 3 small boxes, Sess, plus 14 large boxes. And she raised 203 selling those, okay? So Jocelyn, that means you have the faith equation. What would her equation be?
11s plus 11L equals 220.
Good. 11s plus 11l equals 220. That's coming from this information here, 11s, 11l, and then 220. Good job. Substitution or elimination? Yeah, again, unless it's already solved for a variable, if it says s equals and then it's already solved, unless it's one of those, I'm probably using elimination for every other question. Okay, but if it's already solved and it's ready to be substituted, I think substitution's going to be faster. All right, number 6. Judy spent $131 on shirts. Long sleeve shirts cost $28 and short sleeve shirts cost $15. If she bought a total of 7 shirts, then how many of each kind did she buy? Jace and Callan are going to give me the equations. Jace, I'm going to have you give me I'll let you pick. I called on you first, so I'll let you pick which equation you want to give me. Let's use S for the number. I about said price, but we already know the price. S represents the number of short sleeve shirts.
L for long sleeve.
L represents the number of long sleeve. Okay, which I'm sure you were probably going to use those variables anyways, but now that we have them defined, go ahead and give me one of the equations.
Would it be 28s plus 15L equals 131?
No. Careful, I think you have mixed up. How much does a long sleeve cost?
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't that you chatting back there?
No, it would be. I wasn't chatting. I was trying to like use it out there.
Stop.
It would be 15s plus 28L.
Yes, okay, 15S plus 28L, and what was the total? 131. It costs $15 for a short sleeve, plus it costs $28 for a long sleeve, and the total that she spent is $131. We're actually getting that information from the first 2 sentences combined. Okay. Now you could put the 15S after you put the 28L if you want to. I didn't say which one had to go first. Doesn't really matter here. Okay. And then Callan, you're going to give me the second equation. And the second one's probably the easiest one. It's just the total number of shirts equation. It is. Yep. S plus L equals 7. Question.
This one we should probably substitute one because
I probably would. With this one, it would not be difficult at all to say that bottom equation is the same as L equals negative S plus 7, and then I could substitute it in. Versus having to do elimination, where you'd have to multiply by 15 or multiply by 28. But you're free to do whatever method you want. This is one where I would say I could do either both. I could do substitution or elimination. I don't think there's a better method. I would probably agree with Olivia. I would lean towards substitution for this one, just so I don't have to multiply everything by 15 or 28. But yeah, I think for the last one, you would definitely just go ahead and find that common multiple and use elimination. Number 7, this might be my favorite problem in the whole worksheet. There are 13 animals in the barn. Some are chickens and some are pigs. There are 40 legs in all. But who's counting legs? How many of each animal are there? So,
Is the light just a distraction?
No, it's not.
oh no, it's actually part of the problem.
So chickens have two legs.
So chickens have 2 legs.
Important to know,
Do pigs have 4 or 2? Because
most have 4.
I'm gonna put a
That's
star.
just a 4.
I
Hey, it wasn't meant to roll you guys up. No, there are pigs and chickens in the barn. Yes, chickens have 2 legs. Pigs have 4. We're going to assume they're all regular and they're not deformed. We do have to find the number of each. So C is going to represent the number of chickens. And I'm going to let P represent the number of pigs. Riley, do you want to give me one of the equations? And was that what you were going to ask? Okay, and I want to hear from Dylan. Okay, so Riley, I'll let you pick. You raise your hand first, so you get to choose.
I did 2C plus 4.
Nice job. There are 2 legs on each chicken, plus 4 legs on each pig, and altogether it said there's 40 legs in the barn. Okay, so that's one equation, and you kind of have to, those numbers aren't given to you, you just have to know how many legs are on these animals. Okay, Dylan, what's the probably easiest equation to write here?
C plus P equals 13.
Correct. The total number, it says in the very first sentence, is 13. So add the chickens, add the pigs, you get 13. Question.
What if the person that counted the animals in the barn, that's
See, you're thinking way too into it. That's.
but they didn't count the person with the
We're going to trust that their information's accurate. How do I know any of this information's accurate? I'm just going by what's on the paper.
But the person was in the barn counting.
Now, would you use substitution or elimination?
Elimination.
Okay.
Times by 2.
Times by 2, and then you can subtract. Times by -2, and you can add to eliminate your C's. Substitution. For those of you saying substitution, solve this. Obviously, it's the bottom equation. Don't mess with the top one. Solve the bottom equation for either C or P by moving the other variable over, and it's going to become negative when you do that. And then substitute it into the top. This is one, again, where I would say substitution or elimination is probably going to take you about the same amount of time. Because the numbers are smaller here, though, I'm probably leaning towards elimination. Because I'm not multiplying by 15 and 28. I'm multiplying by 2. Or even dividing the top equation by 2 to get C plus 2P equals 20. And then you can get your C's done that way.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I did substitution and it was
Just
just
as easy. It does, yeah, this one is not a very difficult one with substitution. It would not be. Now, if you try doing this one with substitution, you're in for a long battle on this one. And so this is definitely one. Elimination is going to be easy. And like I said, there are problems where substitution is going to be quicker. And there are problems where elimination will. Yes,
There are 7 pigs and 6 chickens.
you're sure on that?
Yeah, I got the same thing.
I haven't done the question yet.
I didn't either.
Don't worry, you still have to show your work, right? You can't just write down an answer. Okay, last one. Last, hey, listen. Last one, and then I'm going to give you your success time to either work on this because you still have to solve, or you can work on a different assignment. But we got a few minutes left, and we're going to finish number 8 here. It says you have a total of 42 math and science problems for homework. You have 10 more math problems than science problems. Now, this looks like the kind of questions we saw right from the big ideas homework. How many problems do you have in each subject? Nuche is going to do one. And George is going to do one because I haven't heard from him either. I haven't heard from a lot of you. I know that. But I've heard way too much. Nuche, we're going to let M is going to represent the number of math problems. And we're going to let S represent the number of science problems. Okay. So, Nuche, your choice. What equation could we, what's one equation we could come up with here?
M equals S plus 10.
Okay. M equals S plus 10. Nuche is using the second sentence here that says you have 10 more math problems than science problems. So he says, because I have 10 more math problems, take the number of science problems that Colson gave me, add 10 to that, and that's the number of math problems that Bright gave me. Okay, so you could do that. Or, that's fine, that's the one I would have written. Or for those of you that have maybe a little bit more left brain than right brain, or vice versa, you might write an equation that looks like this.
C plus B equals Y.
Okay, your equation might be that the science problems is the math problems minus 10, because there's 10 less. If there's 10 more math, another way of saying that is there's 10 less science. Now, here's the trick though. You can't use both of these as your two equations because it's the same equation. You have to use the information given from the first sentence. Okay, so George Nuches used that information. What equation am I going to get from that first sentence that they gave me? Equals what? 42. Okay. So let me ask you this: substitution or elimination?
Substitution, because the first one's already solved for.
Elimination.
Substitution. The first equation, M's already solved for. It's ready to be plugged in to that bottom equation. Could you use it? You could use elimination, sure. But here, be careful though. If you're going to use elimination, you have to make that top equation look exactly like the bottom equation. Meaning you have to not only move the S over to the other side, but write it first. So it's right above the other S. And then you got M, and then the only thing on the right side should be that number. So you can't, you cannot eliminate this as is. You can't just say, I'm going to put the M above there. You've got to move things around so that the S and M are on, not only on the same side, but then in the same order as well. Then you can eliminate. And sure, you could do that, but I think substitution is going to save you time. You have the rest of the period, well, rest of the day, to either finish this worksheet and have no math homework, or if you got something that's due today, like 5.3 that needs to get turned in, you should stop working on this, make sure 5.3 gets turned in by 2:30, or work on another subject. I don't care. Yes. Yes, it looks like there's nobody out there right now. Use the restroom. You can work in partners as long as your masks are up.
I just said work in progress. Yeah, sorry.
I knew what you meant.
I'm already done.
Tomorrow, because I'm
Yeah, I
just
have
school.
I know that, no.
I don't know if I need to watch it or not. Because last time I got to school, I
So I've been writing.
Let me stop recording. Okay.
Oh, yeah.